Good morning, everybody. Hope your coffee is as good as mine. I know mine is banging this morning. We've got a guest that should be joining us here in a little bit. A local politician by the name of Cody Grace. He's running this Texas 6th Congressional District. We're going to talk about down-ballot voting a little bit, but stick with me. I know we've got an international audience. I know we've got a nationwide audience. We're going to talk about actually applies to everybody. We're going to talk about that a little bit this morning. And boy, I tell you what, we have got a ton of different things going on. It's going to be a show today. Good morning, everybody. How's your Sunday going? I've been bragging on you again. We've got a guest here today that's going to join us. His name is Cody Grace. He is one of the hardest working people I know around here. Every event I go to, every cause that I go out and I champion, Cody's already there when I get there. He is really working for the people of East Texas. He is on the ground. Let me bring Cody in. Morning, Cody. How are you doing today, sir?
Good morning. Happy Sunday. I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Wonderful, man. Wonderful. Doesn't get much better than this. I tell you what, you're going to love these folks, Cody. Just a heads up, maybe a little warning. My audience, our community, we call them the Texas Paul Potheads because we're all addicted to coffee. You know, coffee pots, get it? No, but seriously, man, these people are professionals. It is an international audience. We've got people here. Call it out where you're from. We got people from Denmark, Australia, Africa, Germany. But they'll be having a parallel conversation to us while we're talking about issues. They will likely be ahead of us in the chat, man. So yeah, you're gonna love this, man. These are great people. Norway in the house, calling it out, man. You're gonna love these people, Cody.
Excellent.
You really are.
Excellent.
But yeah,
it sounds like I've got an internet issue. I'm checking on that real quick. But how's everything in your world?
Wonderful, wonderful. This is the issue I kind of wanted to start with today. There are several things going on in Texas, but this is the one that just really kind of stuck in my craw. Are you? One second. I've got so many tabs open, but
okay.
I want to get some of these tabs closed down. But are you familiar with the Sister District Project?
I'm not. Tell me more about that.
It's a research project. They went and took a look at elections from 2019 to 2022.
Okay.
And what they were able to determine was that Democrats had a roll-off. Well, I tell you what, I love to do this with the audience. Okay, folks, what percentage of Democratic voters in down-ballot races, okay, what percentage do you think walk in? What percentage do you think walk in, vote for the top of the ticket, and walk out?
Well, that's a good question. I have no idea.
Watched it.
Let's take a look.
It will blow your mind. Yeah, I know my video is blurry. We've got that first class Texas infrastructure here. It's the internet. I know. You're just gonna have to deal with me. It'll clear up. And we have a winner. We have a winner. Cody, 80%.
80% of people
80%.
going the top ticket first.
80% of Democrats that go in and vote will vote the top of the ticket. They will not vote in contested races down ballot. 80%. What percentage do you think of Republicans do the exact same thing?
Way less. I know that. I'm sure they go all the way down.
32%.
That sounds right.
32%. That's the kind of thing that you're fighting against, my friend.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, that's the kind of thing that we have to address, because you've got Kamala Harris and Tim Walz out there. Absolutely driving excitement. I mean, can you tell a difference in this race compared to previous races?
Absolutely, I can. And I think that's one of the sentiments in Texas, is that I know that I felt it, 20-something years ago. And I know that my constituents feel it, and just, young people feel it, is that their vote doesn't matter. And I think that's what I've been trying to show them, is that the president is not the only person on the ballot. There are down ballot races. There are people that are important that touch you every single day in your community. And that's going to be your city council, your school board, your county commissioners, your state representatives. We are the people that actually do all the work from a legislative perspective or from a community organizing perspective. So I've been trying to get that word out the last however many years, and we'll see how far that resonates.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Cody.
Yeah,
that's exactly what, and this is why I say this is a nationwide issue.
Yeah.
Have you on? You're running for a state congressional seat. You're running for the Texas State House.
Right.
In Michigan, in Wyoming, it doesn't matter. Pick a state. Pick a state. This is happening everywhere. This is happening everywhere. We have Democrats that are excited. They're showing up. The turnout in this election is going to be huge. It's going to be massive. Mm-hmm. It is. This is like nothing. I've been following politics for 40 years.
Yeah.
And this is like nothing I have ever seen. People get it. This is a do or die election. What we have to do is we have to get people to understand they've got to vote those down ballot races. I mean, because the bigots do. The bigots do. They don't miss an election, and they vote from the top of the ticket all the way down to dog catcher.
Yeah.
To make sure their candidates get in. But yeah, man, with so many things going on, and just to give you a little proof of how important your vote is, to answer your question about for people that think that their vote doesn't count. Mm-hmm. If your vote didn't count, this wouldn't be what Ken Paxton is doing. Evil Popeye is suing Bexar County and Harris County because they sent out registration forms to people that didn't request them. They just took people that were new voters, voter age, and they mailed them voter registration forms and said, register yourself. Mm-hmm. And he filed, and you've got to love San Antonio, man. Did you hear what they did?
I saw a lot of the clap back and forth, so I haven't seen the most current news on that. But tell me what happened.
I love San Antonio, my guy. I love the people. Bexar County is San Antonio, by the way. Bexar County. Bexar is pronounced Bexar County. They went to the judge and they said, look, he wants to rush this hearing through. We're not prepared. We need to set a date near the end of September. And the judge said, fine, no problem. What the judge didn't say was, you have to stop what you're doing. So they did it anyway. They said, better to ask forgiveness than to ask permission. And they went ahead. Everything that Paxton was trying to sue them over, they just did it. Mm-hmm. They just did it all. Mailed them all out, went to court, and the judge was like, well, all right, dismissed. I mean, what are we even arguing about? It's done. It's over.
And that seems to be a lot of Ken Paxton and how he operates. He just kind of shoots first and asks questions later. And I'm glad the courts are starting to see that. So there's nothing wrong with registering people to vote. I mean, this is your civic duty. This is our responsibility as citizens in society, is that we register to vote. We go vote at the election time, and we pick our representatives that will hopefully carry us forward into that next level or whatever. But Ken Paxton doesn't seem to understand that. And a lot of these down ballot races they're decided by hundreds of votes, if not tens of votes. So your vote absolutely matters the most in those down ballot races. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly the point I was going to make.
Yeah.
Most of these down ballot elections they're decided by a handful of votes. Hell, they've had several of them over the last election cycle decided by one vote. I mean, they literally had to do recount after recount because it came down to one freaking vote. You know, I mean, these are the ones that make the most difference, and they make the most difference in the biggest ways. Cody, I wanted to get your take on this one. I love the Texas Tribune. I think it's a great paper. They tend to be very middle of the road. They're not liberal. They're not conservative. They don't seem to have an ideological bend. They're just like, this is what's going on in Texas. They seem to care about Texas.
Yeah.
That's why I love this. But have you heard the numbers on maternal deaths?
I saw that this morning. Yeah.
Since they passed folks, the national average was 11% was the increase in maternal death. The reason for that is that 28 states have now banned abortion. They have. And all the medical care that's involved in that. We have seen women die for not receiving medical care. So yeah, nationwide, it was an 11% increase. That's horrible. That's horrible. In Texas, you want to play the game again, folks? What do you think it was here in Texas? Where we have evil Popeye out there acting as the GOP's attorney, not the state's attorney, not representing the people of Texas, representing the Republican Party. Take a wild guess, Cody. What do you think the increase is in Texas? Maternal.
I saw the figure
mortality.
this morning. So it was, I guess I should have looked at it with my glasses on. I thought it was around 40 or 50%. I mean, it's pretty high.
56%.
That was the one, yeah. Yep.
56% increase. The rest of the nation saw an 11% increase with all this nonsense. You know, Cody, that's why it's so important to get people like you into the state houses.
Absolutely.
Because people are literally dying over this.
Yeah, and my district had a high maternal mortality rate for women of color, but yeah, it's skyrocketed in every demographic category right now, and it's there's this cooling effect where we pass these laws and it starts pushing the doctors out. So there's not as many doctors and OB-GYNs that want to operate in Texas anymore. So it just creates this issue where there's nobody to even treat these ladies.
Yeah, and if you dig into the data, you're absolutely right about that. There's people of color and Hispanics that are leading in maternal mortality because, again, they don't get the prenatal care that other demographics do. So these problems that could be caught early aren't. Then you have doctors that are scared to be doctors. They're scared to do their job. You know, well, your infection, yes, your child has died inside you, but your infection is not bad enough. So go out in the parking lot and wait till your temperature is 104 and come back. Meanwhile, mom goes outside, goes into septic shock because Republicans and pastors, and I hate to, you know, we live in the buckle of the Bible Belt. We do. And to speak out against the churches is, I know it's rough, but damn it, these pastors are not doctors. They're not scientists. and they have no business making policy.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't.
And I grew up in a Southern Baptist church. It was incredibly conservative, but I think I was raised on these values of treat other people with respect and treat other people the way that I want to be treated. And getting involved with people's lives like that wasn't okay back in my day. I don't know when it shifted in the churches, but it's certainly shifted recently.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I some of the best people I know are just dyed in the wool Christians. And I will tell you, I mean, when I was growing up, my best friend's mom, Kay Clayton, was just one of the most wonderful people you would have ever met in your life. I mean, she just is. And so, yeah, it's not so much the people, it's that deal with the devil that these pastors made to try to push this stuff. But, you know, come on, man, you're not doctors. You're not. You're just not. You've got no business trying to make these decisions. You've got no business trying to tell people, you know, tell a doctor at what point do you intervene.
There was a book I read recently. I'm trying to find it. It was about Christian nationalism and how it's not nationalism and it's not Christianity. It's just this other force that it was kind of created by this fascist mentality, and it uses Christianity as kind of the mechanism to push itself forward. So it's like the people that are true Christians don't believe in this idea of Christian nationalism, but I don't think the nationalists do either. Let me see if I can find that book. It was a real good book.
But yeah, man, I just and it's not just Texas. Folks, if your vote didn't matter, you wouldn't have stuff like this going on. You've got the Georgia election commission has turned around, and 3 Trumpers called out at his rally have passed a whole raft of rules changing the way the elections are administered weeks out. Yeah, I got it for you. Take me just a second to pull it up.
Okay, that book was Taking America Back for God by Andrew Whitehead. And the title's a little misleading because it's very like data driven, but it sounds like this super Christian book, and it's really not. It's more about data and facts around Christianity and how Christians don't believe in nationalism, and it's real interesting. If you're a reader, then it's worth checking out.
Anyways, I lost my tab. I don't have it here. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Georgia, you've heard about this. Georgia just passed a whole raft of new rules. One of them is they have ordered the state that they have to hand count over 5 million ballots. Something that everyone that administers elections, including the Georgia Secretary of State, who's a Republican, has said you cannot physically hand count 5 million ballots in the time it takes for us to legally certify this election. And I believe wholeheartedly, I don't do conspiracy theories, Cody, I don't. But I believe wholeheartedly that was the point.
There's a lot of elections
if your vote
like that,
if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't do things like this. I mean, we have to get people to understand that, you know, people tell me all the time, Paul, how are we going to turn Texas blue? I tell people all the time, it's already blue. It's already blue. You don't have to turn Texas blue. What you have to do is you have to get Texans into the voting booth and understanding, yes, okay, if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't have taken away straight party line voting. If they didn't know that Democrats roll off more than Republicans do, they wouldn't have taken away. If it was the opposite, there's no way in hell they would have taken away straight party line voting. They know your vote matters. They know that they're not that popular. They know they're leading from the minority. But they also know that for some reason, you get people that A, think their vote doesn't matter, or B, they say things like, I don't do politics.
Yep.
To which I reply, you may not do politics, but your landlord who sets your rent does. And your insurance company that wants to control the state insurance commission, they do politics.
Yes, they do.
The ones that set your rates. And that's the stuff that I want to hear. I mean, I really want to hear from you about, Cody.
Yeah.
People don't understand how much of a difference you can make. And all they have to do is scroll down that screen just a little bit farther.
Yep. Yep. And the down ballot races are, like I said, they're just not as popular. They don't raise as much money. You don't get as much awareness about it, especially in a presidential year. During the presidential year, you turn on the TV and it's like Harris and Trump and everybody's just like yelling over here and yelling over there, but it kind of drowns out the rest of the other people on that ballot. So it definitely go down that ballot, investigate all those people, do some research on those people, because those people are spending your local tax dollars. They're setting your tax rates. They're controlling your schools. They're like pretty much everything involved with your locality is done at the down ballot level. So it's real important to get involved with those races, and you can make real changes if you. These are people that you can call on the phone directly and just say, hey, what's going on with my water bill, or what's going on with my street? I've got all this stuff happening in the street. I don't know what's going on. My power keeps going out. My internet keeps going out. How do we get these issues addressed? And those people can help you with that. You'll probably never see a Joe Biden or a Kamala Harris in your entire lifetime, but your state representative or your city council member, you should be able to just pick up the phone and call them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I just point after point after point. If your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't pull crap like this. This is Christy Jacobson. She is Secretary of State up in Montana. Mm-hmm. Christy Jacobson just somehow managed to forget to include a name on the ballot when they mailed out their overseas, or not when they mailed out, but they put up their electronic overseas ballots. She forgot to include a name on the ballot. This is Christy Jacobs from the Secretary of State of Montana. Yeah. Can anybody guess what name they forgot to include on the Montana electronic ballot? One guess. Here they come.
Yep.
Kamala Harris. That's right. Yeah. How the hell, if you're the Secretary of State and you're preparing a ballot, how the hell do you not get Kamala Harris's name on the ballot?
Right. That's a real good question.
And she's like, oh, whoopsie. Not that many people were affected. We're going to fix it. And you know how it works, Cody. Mm-hmm. You know these elections are they're not decided by millions of people. They're decided by the smallest of percentages. Mm-hmm. And this may not be the one thing that is the vote difference, but it's going to be one of the one things that they do.
Yep.
You know, because how many people are going to fall off now? How many people are going to say, okay, they're either going to send an invalid ballot in and it's going to get discarded because it was one of the invalid ballots, because the new electronic ballot is going to include Kamala Harris, which is going to cut a couple days off the voting time, which that shaves some people off right there. Some people are going to send in the wrong ballot. They're going to be disqualified. Some people aren't going to order a new ballot. They're just going to throw their hands up. Well, I can't vote for the person I wanted to vote for, and they're not going to go to the trouble.
Yep.
Even if it's only a couple hundred people, Cody, you know, if you add that couple hundred people to the couple hundred people that had to stand in line for 8 hours to vote because they voted in a blue district and not a red district.
Yep.
You know, where we live, our district, it's really obvious. The red versus blue districts. It is. I live out in the sticks, man. That's why my internet looks like shit right now. Pardon my expression. I live out in the sticks, man. It's normally not this bad. You have to forgive me. I know I look like somebody said I look like I had my Kerry Lake filter on. But you know what it's like? I ever had to wait to vote.
Yeah.
Literally never had to wait to vote. Because I walk down to my local church, and my local church has half a dozen machines, always 2 or 3 of them empty. I walk in, scan my ID, they hand me my ballot, I walk over, slip it in the machine, I vote, and I'm gone. But you go down to some of the areas down in Tyler where you're running, and it's 95 degrees outside, people getting off of work. What's the wait time, my friend?
Yeah, and that's why I tell everybody to pay attention to those early voting days. Usually early voting is one of those situations where you can just take a lunch break, walk in, get in and out, wait less than 10 minutes. But election day can get pretty heated. I've seen lines that are down the street, and I vote downtown in downtown Tyler. So we have one location down there that's just, it's pretty hectic. It can be. And we've got construction going on right now, so that even makes it more hectic, and people don't know that. So yeah, it's going to be a weird voting season.
So Cody, if you wanted to just get a message out to the folks, if you wanted to tell them, hey, this is important. This is why you got to pay attention. This issue right here. What's the number one that you keep hearing from people here in Northeast Texas?
Man, a lot of what I keep hearing is about housing costs. Reproductive rights, and school funding. Those are the 3 things that every person I talk to, doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican, they all have the same issue. And housing seems to be ballooning out of control just because of insurance costs and like poor city planning and lack of supply. And there's a lot of things that we need to be doing to address that housing cost concern. The cost of rent is going up at an astronomical rate. People can't afford it. They're being priced out of their apartments and they're priced out of their homes. And there needs to be some sort of restrictions on that. Another issue is school finance and school funding. That's a major battle that's occurring in Texas. We've been dealing with it for the last, of course, 10, 15 years in general, but it's really starting to come to a head. The governor of Texas has decided to attack his own party for not supporting his position, even though it's incredibly unpopular. So this next legislative session is going to be primarily about school funding.
The school funding, I wanted to get your take on this. Have you heard of what's been happening with Cody D'Angelo?
Corey, yes. I have been paying attention to that, which I've got my own axe to grind for somebody like Corey. Corey and I got in a little back and forth a few years ago, and I told him I wanted to take him out to lunch and have some in-person conversations with him. And, he's the kind of person that's not going to be confrontational offline. So he blocked me and kind of pushed away from that. I know he's got some strong.
Well, I wouldn't do that because Corey's in a heap of trouble right now.
Yeah, that was a few years ago. When I saw that this occurred, this specific situation, I had a little chuckle. It was great. I was like, look at there, another one.
Yeah. Corey DeAngelis, for you folks that don't know, he considers himself to be a school choice evangelist. He is anti-LGBTQ plus. He is, Mr. School Choice. I told you about the Billionaire Frat Boy Club with Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilkes funding the charter school initiative, the school vouchers initiative, anything to bleed out our schools. And it's, folks, I got to tell you, it's not just the Republicans that didn't bother to Google the man's name. Cato took him on and gave him a fellowship. The Cato Institute, who they're a libertarian institute, but I usually usually, I'll respect their numbers. I don't always agree with their positions because I'm not libertarian, I'm liberal, but normally they're not that bad. But yeah, they hired old Corey here, brought him in house, and I can't show you what happened with Corey, and I can't show you why it is so hypocritical that Corey is anti-LGBTQ plus, because if you Google Corey DeAngelis, it's rated X.
To say the least, yes.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, he's doing gay porn, folks. he did gay porn, which in and of itself, Cody, I don't care. I don't care. If that's your thing, do your thing. But to be Corey DeAngelis, say the things that you say about our schools, about the LGBTQ plus community, pushing the whole nonsense about, people go to schools and come having had sex changes at schools. I mean, just that. I mean, yeah. And you're doing gay porn? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
It was, it always seems to be the people that scream the loudest about stuff like that they've got some kind of hidden, closeted something that's going on. And I always keep that in my mind whenever I see those politicians or those lobbyists that they get out there and they're like, this is happening over here. And I'm like, what's this guy got going on?
Yeah, I got an FYI this for the audience. Do not Google this at work.
No, don't do that.
Not Google this at work. Normally, Google's pretty good about ferreting out the images. Yeah, not on this one, not yet. No, don't Google this one at work. It's just, I was looking for an image that it was like masked or cover, something where I could show the audience. This is what close that window. Oh my God.
I think it's this like superior morality complex that these people keep pushing on us. And it's like, we're just trying to make sure our communities are better and our schools are better. And these people will come up with this inflated morality complex and just try to push their agenda on everybody because of it. That's one thing I hate about Texas right now. It's just, there's so many just people with this superiority complex, and they're like, you're this or you're that. And I'm like, no, I've lived right here. I was born a half mile down the street from where I'm sitting right now. I just want to make sure my kid has a better school to go to. That's it. And how do we accomplish that? And it's not, vilifying people and pushing this whatever agenda that these guys think is going on. It's about, making sure our teachers have the tools they need to succeed,
Yeah. On that, I want to, talking about the excitement, I'm going to play a Tim Walz video real quick. Hang with me. I want to get your thoughts on this. Okay. Tim Walz versus JD Vance. I'm going to play a Tim Walz video, then I'm going to play a JD Vance video.
Mm-hmm. That iron from the northern Minnesota Iron Range fueled the steel mills here right in the Lehigh Valley. Together, it was our people that built the tanks that won World War II and freed the world from Nazi oppression. Yep. And I don't know if you noticed that Nazi tyranny. We got folks running as Republicans for governor that are proud to refer themselves as Nazis. Let's not pretend that there's a gradual difference between the folks that are running here, that they're running together.
So yeah, that's Tim Walz, and he's talking about what we talked about in yesterday's show about Mark Robinson out in North Carolina. Turns out he is a self-professed Nazi. Again, the LGBTQ plus haters, but transgender pornography is his kink. His words, not mine. His words, not mine. I don't care, man. Do your thing. Just stop freaking hating people. Okay? Compare that. This is JD Vance.
other words, we focus the people's attention on what's already going on. You, any really think, I challenge you. Go to Springfield, Ohio, which is overwhelmed by 20,000 Haitian immigrants. Go to any community overwhelmed by Kamala Harris's illegal alien policy and tell me that these are stories made up by politicians. What I said.
Okay. So we got Tim Walz talking about, hey, look at all the great things we did, this, that, and the other. Your message, why are we pissing in each other's soup? We're all trying to do better for each other. We do better when we all do. I say it all the time. We all do better when we all do better. Yep. That's Tim Walz, man. That's the Kamala Harris message. That's the, hey, let's fix some problems. Let's, do some things. People are like, yeah, I like that. And then you got JD Vance. That wasn't last week, dude. That was yesterday. That was yesterday. All that debunked crap about they were eating pets and shit like that. He's still stuck on that. He's still like, go look for yourself. They're eating them cats, man. Go take a look. And they cannot, weird crap like that. I mean, and then they turn around and tell me, Cody, my rhetoric is making people want to shoot Donald Trump. No, man. I'm just showing people what you're saying.
It's grievance culture is what it is. They've built this entire platform on, people are taking this away from you and this is happening to you and I'm here to save you from this thing that's happening. And in Texas specifically, we've had a Republican majority for 20 plus years, and all we've gotten is, higher electric bills, higher home insurance bills. Our schools are falling apart, and they haven't done anything about it. All they did is point fingers at people and said, these people are tearing it down, even though they've been in charge for 20-something years. So I'm sick of these people, these politicians that keep pushing all this narrative about, exclusionaryism, and we need to stop that. And I'm glad Harris and I'm glad Walz are kind of starting to build this big tent party again, and let's bring people back in. Let's work on fixing some problems, and let's come up with some solutions. And that's been my message for the last 4 years anyway, and I'm glad they're latching onto it. So I hope that I'm a pioneer in that.
That's exactly what I've been talking about is, look, let's take a look at which way we can go. Your race, national race, Colin Allred, all of them. Let's look at the two ways we can go.
Yep.
You vote Republican. Republicans win. They get what they want. What happens? Well, Donald Trump's told us. He's told us what happens. He's told us what happens with elections. He's told us, that whole "I'll be a dictator on day one," that's not made up, man. That is him saying that. Mm-hmm. The 2025 project isn't just a talking paper. Mm-hmm. They literally have an HR. Mm-hmm. They're processing job applications, man. Mm-hmm. So that these people are they're giving their federal paperwork so that they can have it pre-filled out, mm-hmm. so that when he takes office, they can ram these people into our institutions and gut them.
Yeah.
That's the Republicans.
Yep.
Democrats, now let's just stick with you're a Republican here. Not you, but just any Republican that should happen to trip over my page. If you're a Republican and Kamala Harris gets elected, what is the worst thing that is going to happen to you? You're going to have to put up with maybe a couple policies you don't agree with. Mm-hmm. You're still going to be able to speak your mind. There aren't going to be any camps that you end up in. Mm-hmm. They're not talking about revoking people's citizenship that they disagree with. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to vote in 2 years. Literally, in 2 years, you're going to be able to vote again and choose. Say you don't agree with the policies. You're going to be able to try to affect those policies in 2 more. I mean, are you getting what I'm laying down here? Are you smelling what I'm cooking? Are you understanding where I'm going with this? This is not like any other election I've ever seen, Cody.
Yep.
It's not. And it's not hyperbole to say that. I mean, these people are up there telling you. I got JD Vance, videos I played over the last couple of shows of JD Vance talking about we have to completely eliminate, replace the leadership structure in this country so that we can push our agenda through. Dude, that is not how democracy works.
Nope. And one thing that's different about this race than it was about the last time Trump ran is the Supreme Court has kind of built this runway for him, and he's given this immunity to any sort of presidential executive branch. And that's what's worrying to me, is that he can essentially do whatever he wants without any sort of fear of prosecution. And the only mechanism to put him through a trial is through an impeachment process. And that's wild to me. That's above our entire system that all people are equal and justice is blind, because it's not at this point. It's blind for everybody except for the president. So if Trump is elected, I fully see him arresting the people that he wants to arrest, which is not a good thing for us.
Could you imagine what it would look like nationally, what the corporate media would be doing, just what would happen if Democrats decide, they retake the House,
Mm-hmm.
they hold hearings on, I don't know, Trump's criminal behavior, whatever,
Yep.
Not likely to happen because we Democrats are not nearly as aggressive as I would like to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would like to see us get a lot more brutal. We'll probably just go to work and forget all this stuff and move on. She's just driving me up the freaking wall. But say that by some miracle, they decided to hold a hearing. And as a witness in that hearing, they produced a guy that testifies to the FBI in an interview, tells the FBI that everything he's telling them, he got from Russian intelligence.
Mm.
And Democrats said, that's our witness. That's our guy. That's who we believe. I want you, the American people, to make decisions based on what comrade here, that just openly admitted to us that he's getting his talking points from Russian intelligence.
Yep.
Literally held a hearing and had that. Could you imagine the explosion that would happen across this country? What crisis we would. It didn't even make the top of the headlines, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a one-day blurb of the guy being perp walked because they arrested him.
Yeah.
They had an arrest warrant for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine, man, you're a Democrat. Imagine for a second what that would be like if we did stupid shit like that.
Yeah. I agree with you on the being more defensive or being more offensive. I do think the politics has changed. The party systems have changed, and the Republicans they create problems that they identify us as being the reason for that problem. And, they just create the whole smoke and mirrors thing over here. And we're just sitting here like, we just want to do basic policy stuff. But I think the Democrats, it's time for the Texas Democratic Party and the DNC, the National Party, to kind of step up and just start hitting back and being more offensive and just saying, you know what, we're going to push these policies. You get out of our way or you get on board. And that's something I'd like to see the Democrats start doing more of, is being more aggressive.
I'd agree totally, 100%, my guy. Well, look, I've got to talk about the new document dump that's just come out from the DOJ. You remember the news story that broke up the influencers? Turns out they were paid by Russia.
Yeah.
That and you. I'd love for you to hang out and talk about it if you'd like. If you,
Sure.
You're more than welcome. But I really got to get to that before I don't want to run out of time on this. It is
Really?
super important. We tend to talk about things here, Cody, and then a week and a half later, the mainstream media the media will talk about it.
Yeah.
And our folks, no kidding, man. I mean, if you follow in the chat, they're ahead of us in the conversation. They're running parallel conversations to us, man. It is great. It is great. That's why I tell everybody, I'm never going to be an A-lister, picked up by the corporate media kind of guy, because I sit here and I read the chat. I can't help myself, man. I sit here and read and say the production quality is never going. I can never train myself to just look in the camera. I can't do it, man. I just get lost in what they're talking about. Look, just as a reminder, these are the kind of things that we're talking about that have just happened. Yeah. It was an operation called Doppelganger, and they went a bridge too far is why this blew up in their face. But you remember this with the right-wing influencers that were paid tons of money to push Russian propaganda. Tenet Media, they got busted. Then we had this young lady just lost her mind. She is Danish. She's from Denmark. Hey, shout out to our Denmark audience. Her name's Debbie Netterl. She's on the thumbnail. She was incredibly surprised to find out that she was a Trump supporter and part of the MAGA movement, because she is in no way a Trump supporter or part of the MAGA movement. She's a model in Denmark. She's a model and an influencer. So Debbie gets people telling her, hey, you're all over America, right? So what the Russians did was, as part of this doppelganger operation, was they figured out, and this is part of the information dump that came out. They were actually able, through intelligence gathering, to grab a hold of some of their internal communications. And what they figured out, the Russians figured out, is their brand is done. Their brand is done. They're not going to get anywhere pushing Putin. They're not going to get anywhere pushing Russia. Everybody's got this Ukraine thing figured out. They know who the aggressor is. We can't sell that. We can't sell ourselves. So what we have to do, a guy by the name of Ilya Gembashedza starts a company. And he says, you know what, guys? I can fix this. I can fix this. It's called SDA. It's the Social Design Agency. That name on itself, if somebody just said that to you, doesn't really sound like much. But when you start hearing everything they're doing, yeah, Social Design Agency is really fitting. This is Ilya Gembashedza. He is blessed all the way up to Putin, because his company is working as part of Operation Doppelganger. And what they've done is, like I said, they figured out, and according to their own internal communications, and that's what's been today, is we knew about the influencers they were hiring. We knew about the models that they were creating these fake accounts under. And I've got an example of that for you too. I've linked your campaign website already in the description. So if folks want to have Cody out and run, it's already down there. I also have the Center for Information Resilience link down there, this webpage, so that you can go straight to it and look at this yourself. This is part of their operation. The Center for Information Resilience worked with CNN to help do the journalistic legwork on this. And what they figured out was that they knew they couldn't sell themselves. So what they wanted to do was create these fictitious narratives of these beautiful, appealing people that have pro-Trump, pro-MAGA viewpoints. So they went through these models, Instagram pages that aren't American. Because for some reason, and somebody smarter than me is going to have to explain this to me. If you're American and Europeans want to access, we've got Europeans here. We are on the, quote, American internet. We get fed that stuff all the time. It doesn't work the other direction. So most Americans had no idea who these people are. Even though they were popular in Europe, their faces were recognizable in Europe. Americans didn't know who they were. So the Russians went and found these people and created not just a couple posts. They created an entire identities with these folks. They just stalked their Instagram pages going back years, and created like Debbie Nitterloff was Luna from Wisconsin. And they gave her a life story that went back years by stalking her old social media posts and showing her at dinners and showing her at parties, but posting them as new content. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then they they did a first-class job of photoshopping these people. Like you see this, she's wearing a Levi's shirt. She's a model. This is another model. This isn't Debbie. And they turned it into a Trump shirt. This person's wearing a blue hat. They turned it into a black MAGA hat. This person's wearing a black Adidas cap. They turned it into a black Trump cap. And they did a first-class job. This is not like slapdash stuff. And we knew this was happening. We knew this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
What we didn't know was the rest of the story, to quote old Paul Harvey. I don't know if you remember Paul Harvey.
Yeah.
And now the rest of the story. They took these women and they used them as a particular tool. It's like if you imagine, here's old Texas Paul with his show, and then all of a sudden 20 models show up and tell everybody how great I am. But they took years to build these ladies' followings on Instagram, mainly on X, and I'm really sad to say Reddit. Reddit was a huge one because you remember 4chan kind of went away, fell with the whole QAnon thing. It fell into disfavor. They flooded Reddit. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere with it. So what they did was they took these folks that were real folks and they figured out, you know what? This is one thing, but this could blow up in our face. So they took advanced AI programs and they created armies of bots. They created programs to just make account after account after account after account after account. That's why when you get like a boatload of trolls on your social media, it's like they're all from 2017.
Yep.
They all came on in 2017. You know what I mean? They're all from the same year. And what they would do is they would go to Facebook and they would focus test. This is how advanced they got. They took Madison Avenue marketing techniques. They focus grouped this stuff and they used Facebook analytics specifically. They would put something out that was horrible, misogynistic. I mean, just horrible stuff. These are some of the I've got some of the stories that Doppelganger got behind. You remember the campus press over Gaza, the campus protests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was flooded with Russian bots and these, quote, influencers that were fomenting this stuff. And they were able to trace these accounts back to doing that. The anti-vax stuff was huge with these people. You had this was another huge one that they utilized this system, this part of the system. Okay. You remember the boxer?
Yes.
From the Olympics? Yeah, the axe on her. They put this system to work on that because they could get the bigots excited about it. They would take the analytics from Facebook and I've put a link to the Wired story so that you could actually link out to each one of these. Their EU declarations, their everything with the data to back it up. The link for the Wired story is in the description because I'm going somewhere with this, Cody. They would take and they would try different attacks. And they had a criteria set up where they would say, okay, each one of these trolls does 4 posts a day. And then they honed their craft to where they figured out, and I've told people this all the freaking time. I have friends that work in intelligence. I do, Cody. I know people. I know people that work in the FBI. I know I know people.
Right.
And they will all tell you the best propaganda has a kernel of truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they figure out is, and what you see from this document dump is, that when they started out, they were real ham-handed. It was like, oh, we'll take the models and pretty people, and they'll incels. Oh, they'll get, undesirable guys excited, things like that. It was really kind of ham-handed stuff. They really figured out how to take something that had a kernel of truth to it. And you remember the Haitian story.
Mm-hmm.
What did it start with? It started with a citizen abused a pet.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't eat a pet. They abused a pet.
Right.
Well, they took that and the images from that, and then they turned it into the story that they wanted to push, which is anti-immigrant, which was, you follow where I'm going here?
Mm-hmm.
These documents actually lay out how they became so advanced at owning these stories. But it goes to another level, Cody. But wait, there's more. This, I've been screaming this forever. We now have justification, validation, I should say, not justification, of what I've been telling you about the immigration stuff. Absolutely. Doppelganger went to work on the immigration stuff. You cannot tell me that these Republicans don't know where their talking points are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely push this nonsense.
Yep. And the talking points circulate real quickly too. So you'll notice one politician say one thing and you'll see another one say the exact same thing. So yeah, this narrative gets pushed far and wide all the time.
But wait, there's more. It's actually worse than what we thought. What really made this come front and center, okay? What made the corporate media dive into it was the media clones. This is the red line that Russia crossed that got CNN, that got Politico, that got all of the media outlets to get involved. They were creating fake URLs that looked like the Washington Post.
Mm-hmm.
Then they would go to social media and they would post this stuff, and it looked like a Washington Post article.
Mm-hmm.
It looked legit. You click on it, it looks like a legit site. Had nothing to do with the Washington Post. Washington Post is like, what? Who wrote this shit? You know what I mean? And it was the Russians.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Russians. And those fake screenshots, these articles are still circulating today. And that was a bright red line.
Yep.
That was a bright red line. The media said, oh, hell no. You can have your fake news sites, whatever, that pretend to be news sites. But you don't pretend to be us, ever. And that's when it just blew up. That's when we started seeing the real pressure on the DOJ to release this stuff. That's what triggered this document dump, Cody.
Mm-hmm.
That you have, especially the Washington Post is hot on this, because there were dozens of articles that looked exactly like the Washington Post that the Russians created that were just fictional narratives.
Mm-hmm.
But wait, there's more. While this is going on, the same company, the social design agency, they're doing this numbskull stuff. Like this wouldn't get called out, right? This is the kind of stuff that was just stupid. They're putting out fake posts from Beyonce. They're putting out fake posts from Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Kim Kardashian, all these people that are, and people are like, what? Taylor Swift said what?
Right.
Is this a joke? Again, attention they should not have drawn themselves. because what it ended up exposing is this. This is where I was going with it. This is the dangerous stuff. Like I warn people all the time about Turning Point USA.
Mm-hmm.
Turning Point USA is a youth organization. They're talking to your kids. Okay. For me, this is the thing that's going to get buried by the corporate media, but is the most dangerous part of this document dump. And this is what I want to get your opinion on. I really want to, this is just really, I mean, my face is turning red just thinking about it. Okay. What they figured out is the power of the chorus, right? So they created not just pro-Trump fake accounts. They created pro-left fake accounts that could interject, that would get in, that would get followed by people on the left, that would open up areas that wouldn't normally get exposed to this propaganda. And then when the punch came, the post wouldn't be pro-Trump, they wouldn't be pro-Republican, but they would open up the whole narrative on the left. And they would, suppress the vote kind of thing. For instance, I put a video out yesterday talking about down-ballot voting and the need to vote and this, that, and the other. There were dozens of people I had to remove that were obvious bots that were saying, my vote doesn't matter. I'm so tired of this. My vote doesn't matter. I'm not even going to bother voting. If you went to their website, if you went to their pages, they look like liberals. They look like liberals. But you can tell, I've learned to spot bots. I just have. It's a bunch of sports stuff or a bunch of nonsensical stuff. And then you go to the replies and it's political stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't post anything political, but all your replies are to very popular left-wing creators. Come on. You know what I mean? They're pretty easy to spot if you take the time. So that's one aspect of what they were doing, is they're creating that left-wing chorus. But they've created armies of accounts to work in coordination with these attacks that they put out on video gaming forums. They're accounts that do nothing but talk about gaming on Reddit. They literally pay a guy to sit in Russia, play video games, actively participate in video games, have an account that is focused on video games and video game content, nothing political. Then when the punch comes, they open the door and turn political. So that they've got all of these groups. They've got IVs stuck into the veins, all of these groups. And it's scary how you can go through and you can watch from 2017 to 2018 to 2019 to 2020, each evolution of this and how they're getting better, because it's not just video games on Reddit. Reddit is a huge one for them, which bugs the shit out of me because I'm going to confess I'm a gamer. I'm a gamer. I'm Gen X, man. We're the ones that grew up with the original video game consoles, man. A lot of these accounts that you're looking at, they're Russian disinformation accounts. Just they're sleeper cells waiting to go active. And these documents point out they've absolutely infested YouTube with music content, dance crazes. That just reading the conversations that Ilya Gambashidze is having, talking about how this realization in their head, we can't just go out there and just hammer, Russia's great. Our way of thinking was the way to do things. No, man, they're talking about, hey, have you seen that new album that's dropping? And it's completely AI generated, non-existent human beings developing relationships with actual human beings all over social media, and they have no idea how many there are. But they've had years to develop them.
Yeah.
Tell me how scary that freaking.
And I've noticed that too. There's a lot of the, especially the influencer marketing, but this all kind of started with just 24-hour news and the 9/11 attacks, and that kind of pushed Fox News into the stratosphere because they were just broadcasting all the time. And then that's kind of redefined itself through social media and influencer marketing. And if you look at just foreign interest papers like the Epoch Times, something that looks like this nationalist paper, but it's funded by Chinese propaganda organizations. Like, we see it everywhere. It seems like all these other nations are using our First Amendment against us, but we have to be more informed media consumers. And I think that's a hard thing to ask right now. It's hard to delve through all that information.
So I've got a little excerpt here that I want to read. I'm going to share this with folks. It's from the Wired article. Let me read this and see if this doesn't sound exactly like what Trump says every day. The plan lists a variety of audiences the campaign specifically wants to target, including residents of swing states, American Jews, U.S. citizens of Hispanic descent, and community of American gamers, users of Reddit and image boards such as 4chan. Mm. The document describes this category of gamers and chat room users as the, quote, backbone of the right-wing trends in the U.S. segment of the internet, unquote. In recent months, the Trump campaign has embraced many of the most influential figures within these communities, including many who share deeply misogynistic rhetoric on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. To spread their narrative, the plan called for the creation of YouTube channels that shared pro-Trump content, as well as other viral videos, music, humor, beautiful girls, etc., according to the documents, in order to appear at the top of the search results for U.S. elections. They're utilizing these influencers to boost their content in places that it wouldn't normally reach. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Gambashidze and his colleagues used Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit to create community groups of Trump supporters with one sample name given as Alabama for America the Great. The document also reveals that Russians plan to use Reddit as a vector to disseminate their propaganda, as it is a platform, quote, free of democratic censorship, unquote. Yeah, that's freaking scary, man. They're talking to your kids. They're talking to they're targeting your daughter.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how deep into things like Fortnite and Roblox and all these other smaller influence, these larger gaming platforms that have a lot of collaborative tools within them. I wonder how deep it goes into those platforms.
You know, I found it interesting. I was watching an article, I was watching a video from cybersecurity specialists that were talking about, they said, what is one thing you won't let your kids do on the internet? What's one platform? And I was expecting Twitter. I was expecting 3 of them said Roblox.
Yeah, Roblox is
3 of them, yeah. And these are people that are cybersecurity specialists that look at these threats. 3 of them at Roblox. Yeah, this really, you know, like I said, we saw everybody knew these hacks that were talking on the right. Putin says something, they say something. It's obvious they're pro-Russia. It's obvious that there's some relationship there because they're literally getting their talk. We can see the chain of command of the talking points. Mm-hmm. You know, nobody was shocked at that. That's not what this is. This is that content creator. My granddaughter, bud, she loves YouTube. Mm-hmm. And you don't know now which one of these creators out there freaking sleeper cell. Mm-hmm. Way to shove misinformation into their head. Mm-hmm. Russia is really playing the long game on this, and it's freaking scary, man. It is
Yeah.
freaking scary. I mean, how many people do you know around here that just say the dumbest crap? I mean, what is the craziest stuff somebody's walked up and told you?
That's a hard to tell because I hear a lot of crazy stuff, but I think that people are, they're concerned about certain things, and they hear something and they don't have a lot of outside influence, and they just see one narrow view and they think that that's reality. And it's important for us to ground them and show them more of a diversified view of life, and how migrants aren't trying to take their jobs, and trans kids aren't trying to take over the basketball team or whatever. I think we overinflate things that we have a narrow view on. We're hyper focused on these certain things that are being fed to us, and it just creates this isolationism almost. So,
Well, I will tell you, my friend, it's not that hard if we can just get people involved enough to just pay attention beyond the soundbite.
Yep.
You can hear what I say. I mean, you can hear what I argue. You can see me do it for hours on end. You know what I am. You know that there's no benefit to the Russians paying me because nothing I say benefits them. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to become more sophisticated, more savvy. Did I tell you there's a Telegram channel? I apparently have a Telegram channel in Russia. Okay. Yeah, I did. I had no idea. People have been contacting me. They send me emails with screenshots of my Telegram channel in Russia.
Huh.
I don't have a Telegram channel, dude. I don't use Telegram. That is Russian. Telegram is Russian trash, man. I don't use it. But apparently, old tech and dozens of my images, I'm apparently spewing some serious Russian propaganda in Russia, man. I am. It's crazy, dude. It is crazy what they're doing. And it just, I don't know, man. It feels to me like we're behind on this one.
Yeah.
It does. It feels it's like that whole politics of personal destruction thing that we didn't embrace. When they would, call us name, Newt Gingrich would be a jackass and say the worst damn things about every Democrat he knows, and we would say, "Well, sir, let me tell you about my policies and why my policies are better." And we lost that argument, over and over again. It cost us decades of not embracing getting in the ditch. When they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we jump in that ditch and start cracking skulls. I mean, Democrats have figured that out. They figured that out. That's what it feels like to me. It's like Russia is already on their 4th generation of AI bots. And we're not even in the arena, much less playing the same sport.
Nope.
I mean, I'm hoping to put you into, I'm hoping that you're, in my government soon, dude. You got to have a take on that.
Yeah. There is a lot of that right now. There's a lot of, and I think a lot of this influencer stuff is kind of pushing us into a direction where we're fighting against each other and we're ignoring kind of the outside forces. But it takes all of us unifying together. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everybody just getting together in such a way that we can identify these outside forces that are trying to manipulate us, and then work up a strategy and some sort of push against it. It's really hard to identify right now, and I think somebody in the chat said Psyop, and it's in that realm. It's definitely in that realm, and we're being played by these other nations, and it's real hard. It's real hard to keep your pockets of influence tight and make sure everybody has the right information, because there's a lot of just misinformation happening everywhere, and it's we've got phones and we've got notifications going off constantly, and social media, and that just affects people differently. And it's a fog almost. It's a fog that we need to come up with a good strategy against.
Well, Cody, we're going to need people smart enough. We're going to need people like you that can sit there and say, okay, over here, we have personal freedoms. We are America. We are free people. We're going to be free people. And over here, we have a country that is utilizing misinformation and damaging our country.
Yep.
We've got to balance those scales.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conversation we didn't want to have, I don't think. I don't think we wanted to be here ever.
Mm-mm.
But I think it's a conversation going forward in the future that we're going to have to look for a balance between, because these, like they found like 56,000 bots, and like 14,000 of them had blue verifications.
That sounds right.
There's got to be some conversation between, you can't yell fire in a movie theater.
I'm hoping that this is a uniquely generational problem, because I see a lot of the younger generations kind of distancing themselves from technology, and they're distancing themselves from social media because to them, it's just all misinformation. It's all somebody's opinion that they don't care about. So it's either creating more isolationism, or it's creating like in real life communities again. I'm hoping it's that latter thing. I hope it's more of people getting together, talking with their friends, creating more in-person networking and conversations, because I think that's where life and community thrives. It doesn't thrive online.
Well, do you mind if I take my shot? Because I think you're going to get elected, my friend.
Yeah.
And I've got your ear. So there's something I want to lobby you for.
Okay.
I want you, the state of Texas Ken Paxton actually tried to get a law passed that said influencers had to declare who paid them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they realized it was only their side getting paid, and they didn't want people to know who was paying them. And that went away like a fart in a hurricane.
Yeah.
It did. It just vanished. Nobody's talking about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, great, because you want to know who pays me? These people pay me. These people pay. They're literally who supports my show. These folks, they're the ones that pay me. I'll be glad to let you look in the books. Go ahead. But right wingers, we found out, no, Russia was paying them.
Mm-hmm.
So that went away. So that got me to thinking, if they can talk about legislation like that, why can't we just have basic legislation like something along the lines of labeling? We label what's in our food. Why not have it be a crime for you to present something online that is not a human being?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. You have to label this is AI, or you have to, this account is AI driven, or, you have to identify yourself. How great would that be if we had to identify ourselves? I mean, all of my social media accounts have this ugly face on it and my name. So I own everything I say.
Yeah.
All of it. I'm not saying I know the answers. I'm not saying I know where to go. But while I got you here, Cody, I really think we need to look at this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we need to look at, because it's to the point we can't have conversations anymore because we're not living in the same reality.
Mm-hmm. So let me
I know that's putting you on the spot.
No, not at all. Not at all. So let me share a little about me. I've lived here my entire life, lived in Tyler, Texas my entire life. I was kind of a quiet kid. I was in a, family situation that wasn't the best. So I found a lot of, I found a lot of value in technology. So I got into technology when I was real young, got into the internet when I was real young. It was, a different place back in the mid 90s. I've got a technology company today. That's kind of my whole career path is technology. I went to Washington, D.C. Maybe a decade ago, less than a decade ago, and I walked out onto the House floor, and something clicked in my brain. I was looking out over the National Mall, looking on the Congressional House floor, and I just realized that this is a bunch of old white men that are trying to regulate something that they have no understanding of. And that's what kind of pushed me into this realm, is I wanted to be more involved with the decisions that were made in Washington, because the people in Washington don't understand what's happening in Silicon Valley at all. They're two completely polar opposite places. When I watched, either it was John McCain or somebody was grilling Mark Zuckerberg or Tim Cook about why his phone had to update on a regular basis, and he was mad about that. And I thought that was just incredibly just disconnected from reality. So going forward, my first campaign, this is my second campaign. My first campaign was about data security and data privacy. There are very little restrictions on selling whatever data is collected. Like, let's say you get on a website and it collects all these, forms and email addresses and phone numbers, and that stuff gets sold to data brokers. And then the data brokers use it to track you, and it kind of falls into this influencer marketing thing where influencers have all your trends, and they know what you like, and they start pushing information to you based on those trends. So that is one thing I want to regulate. I want to see if we can do something about data security and data privacy in a way that we protect ourselves and we protect the information that we're creating on a daily basis. What you were talking about was identifying yourself online, and there's been an initiative to get to that place for a while. I know AOL even tried doing it a long time ago, and it's not out of the question, but it's also a what is free market and what needs to be regulated kind of thing. I guess the hope is that
I don't claim to have that answer.
Yeah, I don't either.
I claim to want the conversation.
Yeah.
I do, because right now and you hit it. I mean, just perfectly. I mean, I remember exactly what you're talking about. How I'm thinking everybody needs to go to the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. I covered so much January 6th and all that other stuff. And when you walk across that court and there's something deeply religious about the feeling. Everybody I know that's done it knows the exact feeling I'm talking about.
Yep.
I mean, but when you get inside and you're talking to the people that work in that building, the absolute best of them. I think Hakeem Jeffries is young enough that he's technologically there. He understands. But you're talking about guys that just have no idea what's going on with technology at all. They don't understand their phone, much less what's going on with the data, why Google has dozens of massive servers storing data and nobody knows what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Google. Don't get me wrong. I like Google. People think that I hate when I talk about buying a car and then I get an ad for a Chevrolet. I'm like, really? I love that shit, man. I do. I mean, Laura and I are talking about, hey, you know what? We need to take a trip to California and go, redo our honeymoon. And hell, I'm going to get me some ads popping up, some deals, man. I love that. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. What does bother me is that time I was picking my nose on camera, and Google has that. Mm-hmm. Or that conversation, that deeply personal conversation that we had about a troubled family member. Mm-hmm. Google has that because my phone was in the room. Mm-hmm. And your phone is always listening. People don't realize that. Your phone is always listening. And they don't get it. They don't get it. And the folks in the Capitol damn sure don't get that. Mm-hmm. They just think it's magic that, you talk about, hey, you know what, let's go. What do you want for dinner? Fried chicken or a steak? And then a steakhouse pops up on your phone. Magic.
Yeah. It is meant to the data that is collected can be used in such a way to manipulate your actions, and it can, through power of suggestion, kind of push you in a direction one way or another. And that's something they don't understand. None of those people in Washington understand that.
Well, not only, and well, the bad part is not only do they not understand the technology, but they don't understand how somebody with nefarious intent who does understand technology might say, okay, how can we use this? What can we do? And I tell you, brother, I hate to sound like a broken record. I know those righty trolls always tell me, Russia, Russia, Russia. You're always talking about Russia. Russia cannot compete with us economically.
Yeah.
They can't. We're two different animals. Size-wise, we're two different. I don't give a damn how good Russia gets at something. They're not even in the same, like I said, not only are they not playing the same sport, they're not even in the arena.
Yeah.
Militarily, we've seen their joke. They cannot defeat Ukraine. We can fight the world. Literally. We literally have a plan. If it was us against the world, we can get it on. I shit you not. Talk to somebody with some scrambled eggs on their hat about that contingency. They have that contingency. If it ever got down to it, really got down to it, us against the world, we have a plan where we can fight that out. Russia can't defeat Ukraine. You know what I'm saying? But they're ahead of us on this. They are way ahead of us on this. They understand bigotry. They understand misogyny. They understand what it's like to have somebody that's maybe not the best person in the world and how to just stroke them underneath their chin and tell, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. You're a good person. You're a patriot. You love your country because you want people to be able to think and say what you say. Look at those people over there. They want you to go away because just because you want to protect your family with your bigotry, they want you to go away. And then that sells, and the Russians know it. They know it. And it's scary. It really is scary. Folks, Cody, I'm telling you, man, we got to get you in office. We've got to get you. I mean, I need you in D.C., brother. I do. Had conversations before. I mean, it's great you're going to be here in Texas. I love that. But we got to get you to D.C. We got to get people from your generation in D.C. We've got to get people that understand the technology and the situation we're in. I mean, I don't know. Tell me, check me, man. I respect your opinion. Am I going off the deep end here, or am I in the fight? I mean, you tell me.
Definitely in the fight. Misinformation and information warfare is probably one of the most pervasive subjects right now. Like especially in the cybersecurity realm, everything is being just attacked on a constant basis. So I know that's happening from a social media and influencer perspective too. So yeah, we have to rally around that. And we have to come up with a good solution and good strategy against it. We could hit these places like Russia and China and just say, hey, put sanctions or whatever, but they're just going to deny. They don't have to put any of that on the books. And we don't have a clear way to detect or remediate against it. So I think it's just going to take, and it's going to get worse with AI. It already is getting worse with AI. I'm sure you've seen that with the bot farms. So we have to work towards better on that.
All right, guys, let me throw this. And yes, I do apologize. I've been blurry the whole show. It's not you. It's me. It's me. It's this wonderful Texas infrastructure. I just it's my internet connection because I live out in the stick. I apologize for that. Thanks for sticking with us this long. I want to use this to frame my closing here about how important it is that you vote and that you show up. How many times have I told folks in the audience, we are holding Poland back. Poland wants in this fight. They do. They don't want to fight Russia in Poland. They want to fight Russia in Ukraine. So Vladimir Putin did some saber rattling a couple weeks ago, and he says, you know what? Poland, keep it up. We'll send a few nuclear missiles your way. Andrzej Duda, the president of Poland, said, okay. Picked up the phone and called the Pentagon and said, how many of your nuclear missiles would you like to station in Poland? Because that's what we're going to do now. And he did it publicly, and he did it in Putin's face. This is the seriousness of what we're talking about. This is the kind of brinksmanship we're talking about. They're talking about Haitians are eating cats. They're talking about made-up border crises where we got to build a fence, but not behind the rich neighborhood because they paid for river access. They paid for riverfront access. We can't build the fence there. But we got to have a fence because, immigrants are coming. The crap that they make up. You've got one party that is that, and then you have another party that is really doing the job. Anything you add to that, Cody? Because that's me on the way out, brother.
Well, good question. I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention to this specific situation. I'm hardline focused on Texas, but yeah, there's a lot happening in Europe, especially around Ukraine, and I really don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that one.
Well, I'm not so much Poland in particular because I've talked about that one repeatedly. I mean, the Poles. If you're I'm a history nut, man. I'm a history nut. That's my thing, and that's the frame I look at these things. And there's a lot of people in popular culture that don't know the Poles are a warrior race. Mm-hmm. They are. I mean, from before, you're talking going back to BC. The people that lived in that region are just a warrior people. They are. And Putin keeps flicking them in the nose, man. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that. The Poles are not scared of you. I mean, when the Germans invaded in World War II, everybody's like, well, the Poles must not be that tough because, the Germans just took them out. The Poles jumped into freaking biplanes from World War I, man, and they were out there fighting it out. They didn't run. They went to England, got into modern planes, and started attacking Germany from the other direction. I mean, they do not mess with the Poles, man. And this is what I'm saying is not so much about Poland and that situation. This is the level of situation. We talk about domestic policy, foreign policy. You have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And your purpose for being in office cannot be the benefit of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. It just can't. The world is a dangerous place. It is. Things can spiral out of control quickly. And believe me, if we were not a moderating force for Poland, if we weren't, Poland would be in this war already. Mm-hmm. We've talked about how the Poles right now, just Cody, you're probably not following Ukraine as close as I do.
Yeah.
Every tank and APC that gets damaged in Ukraine, they throw it on a truck and they drag it to Poland, and Poland they're down to under 3 months turnaround time. They can take a destroyed leopard tank, strip it down to the chassis, repair the frame, new armor, new electronics, and have it back in the battlefield in 3 months.
Nice. That's cool.
They are badass, man. And they're not hiding it. Diplomatically, it's like the truck drivers are driving down the road with their finger out the window, pointed towards Russia. I mean, they're not hiding it. This is the level of stuff I'm talking about. The Middle East. We're talking about all the energy situations that Europe is facing. It's not easy for Germany. Germany literally just had to scramble to make sure they had enough natural gas to get through this winter. I'm not kidding. Schultz literally had a press conference where he assured his people, We have now secured enough natural gas contracts. We will be okay this winter. That's real, folks.
Yep.
Compare that to the shit that J.D. Vance is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in that context. You know, there's only one choice. You got to go into that booth. In Texas, you cannot just click blue and it's blue all the way down. You literally have to go race to race to race to race to race and vote for the Democrat. You do. It's the only thing we can do. It's the only thing we can do to put seriousness back into politics.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get off my soapbox, my guy.
And that is important. It is important, especially the down ballot races, which is kind of where we started. Those races need the time and attention for you to go down there and push that button and hopefully learn about them before you go into that voting booth. And those are the people that are spending your money. Those are the people that are making those local policies and local ordinances and the doing your school funding primarily for your school boards. So it's real important that you pay attention to those races. That would be me too. I'm one of those races.
I've got Cody Grace's campaign website listed in the description if you want to help Cody out. Believe me, it goes a long ways in these ballot races. So anything you can do to help the man out, you could tell he's a good guy. He's intelligent. He has not taken the bait once. I don't know if you noticed this, how smart he's been about his answers. Cody's going to be around for a long time, folks. You're going to see him nationally. Mark my words on it. Cody, it's been good talking to you, sir. Folks, thank you for being here and sharing your Sunday with me. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.